Good morning. Welcome to the presentation portion of the Orange County Board of Supervisors meeting for today, December 4, 2018. The first presentation is for the Hurricane Heroes. And for that, I'm going to turn over to my colleagues who sit on the OCFA board. I believe Supervisor Spitzer will be kicking off this item.
Great. Thank you. So good morning. If I could ask the honorees this morning from fire and police who are coming here on behalf of this presentation to come forward, that would be great. We'd love you to come up and stand with us. Don't be all looking at each other like you don't know. Come on. So as I prepare to introduce this item, thank you so much. It's such an honor to recognize our hurricane heroes for 2018. And in 1992, I was a deputy district attorney, and I was a reserve police officer. Morning, Sheriff-elect Don Barnes. Good to see you, sir. I was a reserve police officer with the city of Los Angeles. And the Rodney King verdict came in, and we were deployed on 12-hour shifts to the city of Los Angeles. So I was obviously deployed. I was the PM watch, which meant I think I worked from 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. And when I came back after being deployed for that event, after 3 or 4 days in the city, I went to my manager with my time card expecting that my pay would be covered because I had been deployed. Nick Berardino's laughing at this. He understands what I'm about to say. And they looked at me and they said, no, we don't recognize when you go off for some kind of major event, County of Orange. You have to take vacation time. I said, literally, I just spent 3 days in the riots in the city of Los Angeles, and I don't get compensated. So Nick Thompson was a public defender at the time. He's now a judge. He got deployed to one of the Mideast conflicts when I was a supervisor, and he was gone for 3 or 4 months. And he had the same problem, and so the board passed a resolution that now recognizes if you are deployed into the field while you're a county employee, your pay will be covered while you are gone, which is a very important thing. And so I give you that as an introductory comment to tell you just how important it is that while we have fully sworn both firefighters and police officers who went to respond to the hurricane, we, through mutual aid understanding and just our commitment to being one country, we send people to national emergencies all the time, and you may not even understand what the impact is of that. And God forbid we have a major event, which we've had with fires, and of course we will have the inevitable earthquake. We will have people come here on our behalf, and that's the way the system works because we're one country. So today, we are honoring a group of individuals who are near and dear to all of our hearts. This is the police and firefighters who now have the tools and the laws to do a great job, which has been their mission for 20 years. We're fortunate to have some of the best firefighters in the world working right here in Orange County, the Orange County Fire Authority, the Orange City Fire Department, the Anaheim City Fire Department, along with civilian doctors, structural engineers, and canines are part of the FEMA team that responds to disasters nationwide. There are 220 people assigned to that here in Orange County, and the most recent deployment was in September for Hurricane Florence, which, of course, hit the Carolinas dead on. It caused flooding and severe flooding and $18 billion worth of infrastructure damage. 55 people perished in that event, and yet 16 members of our team drove cross-country. I mean, Lisa and I, as members of the Fire Authority, we actually have been there when the equipment and the personnel return. And I mean, it's an unbelievable amassment of resources. They literally take all this equipment, they drive cross country. It was a 61-hour drive straight through to get there, and because their mission was urgent. We saw it on TV. We were reminded of Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans as a result. And if you could imagine, you've seen these swift water rescues and what they do to get people who, right? I mean, you look at these fires and you look at these Jeeps in the mud, you're like, why would people drive? They know the floods and the mud's coming. Why are they driving their cars into these particular situations? Some people just find themselves so overwhelmed so quickly that they didn't even realize that that would happen like we saw with the fires. So these are really, really our true heroes. We're so pleased that they are coming here today to be recognized by us. We have today Orange County Fire Authority Division Chief Ken Dossie, who led the ground units from Hurricane Florence Task Force. We have Anaheim Fire Deputy Chief Pat Russell and Division Chief Tim O'Hara and Orange City Fire Deputy Chief Chris Boyd. And at this time, I'd like Supervisor Bartlett to also make some comments as a member of the Orange County Fire Authority. Thank you.
Well, now that you've covered all of my talking points, I'll be very brief. I won't cover what my colleague covered, but what we have here as far as our Task Force 5, they're one of 28 FEMA urban search and rescue teams in the United States. And in fact, OCFA is hosting the other 27 national urban search and rescue teams and FEMA in the city of Irvine right now. So we want to get through the presentation so they can actually get back to their good work with the other 27 agencies. Additionally, Orange County Fire Chief, Chief Fennessy, took the role of the Western Regional Chief, representing all 8 California task forces, as well as Washington's task force to coordinate with FEMA on behalf of the whole Western region of the United States. So on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, we just want to thank Task Force 5 for the great work that they do. It's not just in Irvine, as Supervisor Spitzer alluded. Whenever we have an emergency anywhere in the United States, our firefighters get deployed wherever the emergency, wherever we need to have their work done, whether it be a fire in Northern California, whether it be something on the East Coast, a hurricane, or a tornado somewhere, in Houston. Our firefighters are always prepared to go wherever the work is needed and on a moment's notice. And sometimes they get deployed not just for days, where they go for 3 days and come back. Sometimes they're gone for weeks. Sometimes they're gone for a month. They're away from their families. So we really appreciate the great work that they do, and to be able to pick up and go, like I said, on a moment's notice, and to help out wherever they're needed. This is something, it requires a special person to do that sort of thing, and we greatly appreciate their efforts and their heroic efforts. I mean, they're going places and they're truly saving lives a lot of times, not just putting out fires. So thank you for Task Force 5 and the great work you do for Hurricane Florence and all of the other natural disasters around the United States. Continue to do great work, and we appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
I just got volunteered to speak. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for the support. If we didn't have the support, like the story that you guys heard, I don't know if our team would be as great as it was. So thank you very much for supporting us. Obviously, the citizens supporting us. I can tell you that 61 hours in a car straight is a really, really, really long time. I don't suggest it for anybody. It was pretty brutal just driving straight through 61 hours. We obviously rotated drivers, but when we got there, it was a disaster zone. We did great work back there, just like we have in the past. We were even deployed just recently to the Camp Fire in Northern California, and our team was specifically sent up there to do search and rescue of deceased people, which is a little bit different than our normal task, but the task force knew they were going to be there over Thanksgiving. They volunteered to go up there and went up there and did great work for the citizens up there. So thank you, supervisors, for supporting us. Thank you, citizens, for supporting us. We appreciate it. Thanks.
This is also the basketball team.
Remember to scoot in just a little bit. Right here. And 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Right here. Thank you.
And one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
So today we are pleased to present some board resolutions to a few of the executives at Rancho Mission Viejo upon their retirement. So if we could have Dan Kelly, Richard Broming, and Sam Couch come forward. So in my district, which is the 5th district, we have in one of the unincorporated areas, Rancho Mission Viejo, which is one of our significant and very well-respected real estate developers. And they are master planning a community that will include 14,000 homes and about 5 million square feet of commercial and retail. Very significant project for South Orange County. And it's coming along beautifully. They're now moving into Planning Area 3, and I think all of South Orange County is really excited for the new homes coming online. They work with a number of different actual real estate builders, and I've gone down there a number of times to just walk through the open houses and see what's going on in the community, and it's phenomenal. If you haven't had a chance, there are so many different types of dwelling units there, townhomes, and you've got some senior communities and everything in between, and it's really beautiful up there. It's a great, great community. But it's kind of bittersweet that we have 3 executives that are longtime employees of Rancho Mission Viejo, and their tenure there is coming to a close because they've decided to retire. Over the years, they've made major contributions to the development and to the community. They're always great community partners. I know there was a time where when I got elected to office, I was talking to Tony Moiso, who's very ingrained with Rancho Mission Viejo and everything out there. And he said, you've got to participate, Supervisor, in all of our key events. And I got a list of things. And so I looked at them and I thought, wow, one of these I'm not sure I can really do. So I didn't know how to approach Dan Kelly, but I finally did. And I said, Dan, I've got this list from Tony, but it includes this Portola ride on a horse ride for a couple of days. And, you know, that's just really not me. So is it okay if I back out of that? And he just started laughing. He said, that's for men. The women don't go on that trip. So I had a huge sigh of relief. But it's been such a great pleasure working with everyone at the ranch and with these 3 executives that are retiring. I just want to say thank you for all of their contributions and wish them well. We've got significant work ahead of us with the final build out of the project development site. But just to give you a little bit of background, so Dan Kelly's been with the ranch since 1986 and was responsible for interfacing with various local and regional jurisdictions, as well as other pertinent groups and authorities and interests over the years, including the communities of Rancho Santa Margarita, Las Flores, and Ladera Ranch. And he's been an integral part of the Rancho Mission Viejo team that entitled the ranch plan with the county in 2004. There was a development agreement. As the county's largest remaining master plan community, Rancho Mission Viejo will have 17,000 acres of permanently protected open space, again 14,000 homes, and 5 million square feet of commercial development and community serving areas. So at this time, I'd like to call up Dan Kelly to come up and say a few words. I know you're going to want to raise this microphone. Thank you.
There we go. I think that'll work. Supervisor Bartlett, thank you very much. It's a very generous and gracious thing the board does today in recognizing our service at Rancho Mission Viejo over all these years. It's interesting for me, particularly right now, because my business with the board always has me on this side of the podium, so it feels odd being on this side. By the way, you people all look really good this morning. It's a nice view from up here. It is a gracious thing to recognize our time at Rancho Mission Viejo. We're very pleased to have had the opportunity to work at the ranch for all these years and be part of the communities that have been developed down there. We look at our work as a labor where we build the stage upon which people will live their lives. And it's a noble job. It's one of real worth and value. And we like to think that when our work is done, excuse me, a home is built, that now years from now, people will think about Christmases of many years ago in communities that we built. And for us, that's meaningful and it's important, and it provides a tie to the history we have at Rancho Mission Viejo, having been in the same family for 135 years. It's important to note, too, that we could not have done that ourselves. We've had a partnership in our community development with the County of Orange for all of those years. And we appreciate that partnership, and I know my colleagues who are here today who are going to be carrying on that tradition with the county will continue that partnership and continue to see the successful implementation of those communities over the years. And with Richard and Sam, I'll extend their thanks as well, and we appreciate this very, very much.
Can I gotta say something. I'm so sorry. You know, we've had three big ranches in Orange County, the Yorba Ranch, the Irvine Ranch, and Rancho Mission Viejo. And when you're a supervisor in a lot of these unincorporated areas, you obviously are responsible for the oversight and the planning and the entitlement of all these planning areas. And our planning department has played a huge role over the years in helping us and other boards facilitate this process. But when you drive down the 5 freeway or you drive through South County and you see Avery Parkway and Melinda School, that's Tony's wife, or you see O'Neill, Dick O'Neill and his family, these are legends that will remain in perpetuity throughout our county. And there's the significant contribution they made. And these three men who are here were not family members, but they played a significant role in the legacy of the Moiso, Avery, O'Neill family in Orange County. And when Supervisor Bartlett talks about the mixed type of product that came through, low-income housing, middle-income housing, higher-income housing, all that was done to make excellent planning opportunities for the county. But most importantly, it's the generosity that, you know, I really wanted to make sure that people understand. It's the generosity of these ranch owners who have worked for decades and generations, literally, with supervisors, our predecessors, and our successors to make sure we have the best and most responsible planning for Orange County. And so I just, you know, Dan and Sam and Richard, I just want you to know on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, I know Tony's not here, Melinda's not here, and Dick O'Neill will rest in peace, but with Don O'Neill. But the fact of the matter is that they need to know how much we appreciate not just your role in the development of the ranch, but the legacy they provided for generations to come with responsible stewardship of a phenomenal piece of land. So thank you so much and congratulations.
Right here. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. That concludes the presentation portion of our board meeting. The regular portion of the meeting will start in 5 minutes. Thank you.
have questions. For S34,
Good morning. Welcome to the meeting of the Orange County Board of Supervisors for today, December 4th, 2018. We will begin our meeting with the invocation to be offered by Supervisor Bartlett, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Supervisor Steele. Please rise.
Please bow your heads and join me in prayer. Let us begin with a moment of silence in memory of a great patriot and respected leader, George Herbert Walker Bush, our nation's 41st president. Heavenly Father, as we gather here today, please give us guidance and wisdom as we conduct the important business of the county. Give us the strength to work collaboratively together so that we make decisions which result in good governance and benefit the residents of Orange County. We take this opportunity to thank our county employees for their continued dedication and commitment to superior service every day, and wish everyone in our county family a joyous holiday season. We count our blessings and are grateful to live in a free country with an abundance of opportunity, and must always remember that we should help those less fortunate. By doing so, we make our county better for all of us. We ask for a special blessing for the brave men and women in the military who are serving both here and abroad, especially this time of year because they are away from their families and loved ones during the holiday season. Please watch over them and keep them out of harm's way. We ask all this in your holy name. Amen.
please all join me. Let's begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Supervisors Bartlett and Steele. A couple of reminders for today's meeting. Please use the side entrance to my left when entering and leaving the room. Please set your phone to mute or vibrate at this time. A list of changes to today's agenda, together with the request to speak, are located on both sides of the room and in the back. Today, we will also be conducting the Truth Act Forum for planning purposes for the audience. This is how we will proceed. I will begin with the consent calendar. Any item pulled from the consent calendar will be taken up when we do the discussion calendar, which will be held at approximately 1 p.m. today. So we will begin with the consent calendar. Anything pulled will be heard at the same time as the discussion calendar, which is set at this time for a time certain at approximately 1 p.m. So that means we will conduct the Truth Act Forum after the consent calendar, and the board will break for a closed session, whether it's before noon or approximately noon, and then come back at approximately 1 p.m. to do our discussion calendar and any consent calendar items that got pulled. Okay, so colleagues, any questions on the process? Okay, so with that, we will now move to the consent calendars, items 1 through 23.
Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the changes?
Oh, the changes, yes, please do that now.
Under the consent calendar, item 10 has been continued to January 29th, 2019, 9:30 a.m. On the discussion calendar, items 25 and 36 have been continued to December 18th, 2018, 9:30 a.m., and item 33 has been deleted. Items 34 and 35 have had changes to the recommended action since release of the agenda to the public, and the public has requested to pull items 2 and 9 from the consent calendar.
I would like to pull number 4 also. So we have item 2, 4, and 9 have been pulled and will be heard approximately 1 p.m. today. Colleagues, do you have any other items from the consent calendar you would like to pull? None? I'll entertain a motion at this time for the balance.
Second.
Okay, any opposition? So the item passed. Okay. Okay, so we will now move on to the Truth Act Forum, which is listed as item supplemental number 40A. County Council, is there anything we would need to read into the record?
No, Mr. Chairman, just you may choose to open the public hearing.
I'm sorry?
You may choose to open the public hearing and receive public comment.
Absolutely, yes. I also want to note that I believe Undersheriff and Sheriff-elect Don Barnes is present and is here to listen to public discussion and be available to answer any questions from the board. I thought I saw him earlier. Right there. Thank you. You moved from your normal seat over here. All right. So at this time, I will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk, do we have any received or requests to speak at this time?
Yes, we have received 31.
31, okay. So that closes the request period to speak, okay? So we will close the hearing now to 31 speakers that we have received the request for. With that in mind, 31, I will, each speaker will have 2 minutes at this time to speak. And Madam Clerk, please have your clock reflect that. And audience, when you come up, we will call 3 names at a time. Please line up behind the podium. And green light means you still have time. It will gradually fade to yellow, and then when it's red, that means your time is up. Please abide by the 2-minute limit so that we can conduct this meeting in an orderly fashion. Please call the first 3 speakers at this time.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and read the title first. Under County Council, pursuant to Government Code Section 7283.1, conduct public hearing regarding transparency review of unjust transfers and hold, Truth Act, and receive and file information from county law enforcement departments regarding immigration and customs enforcement's access to individuals in 2017. The first 3 speakers are Vaughn Brecht, Betty Johnson, and Jane Stover.
My name is Vaughn Beck from Westminster, California, and this is regarding SB 2792. In my opinion, anything emanating out of the sewer swamp in Sacramento dealing with illegal aliens and real legal American citizens that favors the poison from the south of the border is pathetic display of corruption that soils this great state of California. Pardon me, folks, but damn anyone who supports this shameless disregard of law and order and the scheme of Jerry Brown and his ilk is sick. We USA citizens have had enough of the abuse dished out onto American citizens by hordes of illegal aliens with the Sacramento's blessing. The costs are just too high. Thank you very much.
Let's see. My name is Betty Robinson, not Johnson. I was born in California and lived most of my life here in Orange County. I'm a member of We the People Rising. I am fed up being called a racist. For heaven's sakes, Hispanics in many races are an integral part of California, but everyone needs to be here legally. I fully support ICE. They are protecting us while enforcing the laws that Congress enacted. Taking illegal alien criminals off the street also eases the burden of local law enforcement. It is a fact that many illegal alien criminals who are released into the community go on to commit more crimes. Just ask the California families of Marilyn Ferris, Border Patrol Agent Robert Rosas, Deputy David March, Teresa Ortiz, Stacey Aguilar, Cecilia Cabrera, DeAndre Mitchell, Jack Tenhulsen, Sandra Duran, Detective Michael Davis, Deputy Sheriff Danny Oliver, Marcello Bissarelli, Gracie Aguilar, Brandon Rideout, Kelvin Williams, and Ray Cruz, to mention a few people who were killed by illegal aliens. I wonder why the caravan traveled an extra 1,000 miles to reach the sanctuary state of California. There are 600 known criminals in the caravan. One way or another, some of them will cross the border. We need ICE. Thank you.
The next three speakers will be Julie Marzik, Monica Glicken, and Sabrina Rivera.
Good morning, board and members of Orange County. My name is Jane Stover. I have a different perspective than the speakers we've heard so far. I am a professor at the University of Irvine School of Law, where I direct the UCI Initiative to End Family Violence and the UCI Law Clinic, Domestic Violence Clinic. And in that clinic, we represent abuse survivors throughout Orange County in civil, criminal, immigration, and policy interventions in abuse. And I'll speak briefly based on my past 2 decades of representing domestic violence survivors, just making 2 brief points. So first, I see the common occurrence of abuse survivors being criminalized and arrested and incarcerated themselves when they're seeking help. This is something that we're not talking about enough. The vast majority of women in state prisons have been victims of physical and sexual violence themselves, and many abuse survivors are accused of crimes relating directly or indirectly to the abuse that they experience. Quick example is not too long ago, I received a call from a former client saying, "My sister has been arrested for felony domestic violence and is going to be deported. Can you help?" And so this woman had filed a child support case against her abusive ex-boyfriend, and he was enraged. He sent hundreds of threatening text messages, came to the home, and was breaking down the door. In the process of her trying to keep him out and push against the door, she accidentally scratched his face when he succeeded in breaking in the door, and she herself was arrested. So our clinic went on to represent her successfully, but unfortunately this story is not an isolated incident. And this situation of abuse survivors being arrested when they are in the process of seeking help is something that we see far too often. Second, my clients are generally not seeking criminalization and deportation of their partners. And so I want to disabuse any notion there. They more often want a person to get help, want anybody who has used abuse in a relationship to get the help to not do so, to be able to have employment and to be a safe co-parent, and for them to have peace and a stable place to live. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Julie Marzouk. Between 2013 and 2018, I directed Chapman University's Family Protection Clinic. Like Jane, my expertise lies at the intersection of immigration and domestic violence. I wanted to follow up on a few of the points that Jane had mentioned. In particular, I wanted to explain how it is that victims of domestic violence often have convictions for the crime of domestic violence itself. It's often the case that victims plead guilty because they fear repercussion by their abuser or by the family of the abuser or by their own family. Sometimes victims plead guilty to the crime of domestic violence because they simply wish to get home to their children as quickly as possible. When we label individuals by their conviction, we strip them of their humanity. Victims are not saints, but they are people. Some have made good decisions and bad decisions like the rest of us. Although there is an exception for detaining or transferring folks to ICE who have convictions for domestic violence, it's important to understand that that conviction often does not tell the whole story. In fact, many times they are the victims themselves. There are also instances in which victims have convictions for other crimes, such as theft or prostitution or fraud. As Jane mentioned, this is often interrelated with their violence. Part of the dynamics of domestic violence are that abusers strip victims of their authority, of their autonomy, and sometimes resorting to theft or other crimes for self-preservation. It's important to understand that Congress has passed a series of pieces of legislation which are entitled, which are meant to protect victims of domestic violence, but also in some instances to provide them with a path towards legalization. When victims are detained by ICE, they are far less likely to be able to utilize those remedies, and in such, we're undermining the intent of that congressional legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Monica Glicken. I'm the directing attorney of the immigration program at the Public Law Center here in Santa Ana. And I'm also a community member. I live in Rossmore in the Los Alamitos School District, and I'm a member of the Los Alamitos Community United Community Group. I would like to tell you a little bit about some of the people that our program serves. We provide free legal services to low-income residents of Orange County, including immigrants. And among our clients, they are the most vulnerable. They are the working class, they are the poor. There are children who have been abused and abandoned or neglected by parents. There are young women who have been trafficked into the United States for domestic or sex slavery. They're victims of violent crime in Orange County who have stepped up to report their crimes and assist in the prosecution. But there is a problem because in these communities, because of this county's refusal to stand up against anti-immigrant rhetoric and agendas, there's a perception by these communities that their local law enforcement is not there for them, is not there to protect them. And we have seen this in our own clients, that they are fearful of reporting these crimes because they fear retribution, they fear that they will be entangled in ICE enforcement, and this does not lead to security for all of us. It leads to a reduction in reporting of crime, fear of communities, and collaborating with local law enforcement. And that makes all of us less safe. And on a personal note, I'd like to note that for my own neighbors, friends, and families in my community, I have seen, and this is not something, a fear that just extends to so-called illegal immigrants. All of those who come from immigrant backgrounds suddenly feel less safe in our own communities. I know Muslim families that are afraid to go out in their hijab because they fear targeting and racial profiling by local law enforcement and then transferring to ICE. This is a real fear in our communities, and this county should step up to address it and be transparent about its collaboration with ICE. Thank you.
The next three speakers will be Eric G., Jose S., and Anna Ramirez.
Hi, good morning, board and members of Orange County. My name is Sabrina Rivera. I am a staff attorney at the Immigration Clinic at Western State College of Law in Irvine, where I have dedicated the past 5 years of my career to the needs of immigrant detainees in Orange County. I am also a constituent of Irvine. Hi, hello, Mr. Spitzer. Our clinic at Western State is a semester course where law students enroll and directly represent non-citizens under the supervision of clinic faculty. Recently, our focus has been serving and representing clients that are detained at Theo Lacy and Music, which are two federal immigration detention centers in Orange County. I was going to share some points that I wanted to share, but I wanted to really focus on a short story about a client that I represented this year that was detained at Theo Lacy facility for almost 2 months. Although he was physically born in Mexico, at birth, my client acquired U.S. citizenship. Does that sound confusing? That's because it is. Under the immigration citizenship laws, my client acquired citizenship at birth because his father was a U.S. citizen that was born in California and was a farm worker in Orange County for many, many decades, before any of us, probably most of us, were born. Supervisor Todd Spitzer mentioned earlier and honored some folks in the room who said that they had decades of service to our county. Well, this client's father dedicated decades of his life to feeding families in Orange County as a farm worker. And now, because my client was ordered removed by an immigration judge because of an error, he was unavailable to attend his hearing, and so he was removed. When he was released from incarceration after a criminal matter, they said that it was insufficient to continue the case in immigration court. And so my client was immediately transferred to ICE custody and was detained in Theo Lacy for almost 2 months. And after I stepped in, he was finally released, and a U.S. citizen was detained for almost 2 months in Orange County.
Good morning, supervisors. The Orange County Sheriff's Department, like all sheriff's departments across the state, have a stake in and profit off the back of migrant people and refugees. We continue to profit here in Orange County and just don't see anything wrong with that. In Theo Lacy and James Music, and Theo Lacey, whose conditions have been highlighted by the Attorney General's office to completely be outrageous and inhumane. The reason that we're having this meeting to begin with, and activists statewide, Jerry Brown didn't give folks the Truth Act out of the goodness of his heart. The reason is because community asked to demand the truth because the Sheriff Department is unwilling to give it to us. They are not transparent and would have you believe that that their interest is in public safety. By positioning themselves to profit, the Sheriff's Department does not care about public safety. That's very clear, and operates as another enforcement arm of the racist, yes, and rogue agency that is ICE. Any collaborations of any sort, officially or unofficially, to any capacity, are inherently inhumane and xenophobic. Under any other circumstance, if somebody does time, we as a public would say that person paid their debt to society. However, because the only difference is in immigration status, we ask that these persons are incarcerated longer. That's a violation of due process. That is and should be the reason why we find this so appalling. But it's inherently racist, and we ask these folks to serve twofold, where under any circumstance a citizen would not. In asking to collaborate with ICE and to deport or even continue to incarcerate other human beings, again, to any capacity, the Sheriff's Department openly acknowledges that their facilities are incapable of rehabilitating these people and asks that they continue to be incarcerated. That is wrong.
Good morning, board. So I was pretty fired up to come here today, right? We were gonna get answers from the sheriff. I've been at a few truth forums across the state just to see what they were like. And finally it was happening at home, right? But I guess that changed. I didn't come here to call anybody poison. I didn't come here with very obvious, very misleading anti-immigrant talking points. Me and my friends, me and my community, we came here to ask for humanity, but we're not gonna get it. I know we're not gonna get it. And I get it. You don't understand. You don't have to live in the apartments where if somebody says the word migra, entire families have to hide. You don't have to see families torn apart every day. You don't have to pray every morning when your family goes away that you're going to see them again, right? Because you're not in our shoes. You're not in our situation. I understand that. But you have the power to make change. At the very least, you should do your job. And your job is to hold the sheriff accountable, just like you would hold any other agency, any other part of your local county government accountable. Right? If your planning department, if Parks and Rec, whatever part of the county is acting out of the law, you're going to hold them accountable, or at least you should, but you don't, and you don't do that with the sheriff. And so everyone who stood up today and pledged to that flag, right? We've all been ingrained, at least everybody that I know that has gone through the public education system, we know about this thing called checks and balances. I mean, when I was young, I was naive. I kind of believed in that. But I absolutely know that that's not a fact, that that's not something that happens with our government. And these are the same people that vilify us, call us poison, call us criminals, call us aliens, which frankly is kind of growing on me. But you're never going to understand what that feels like either. You're never going to be vilified the way that we're vilified, made a straw argument, be blamed for everything that is going wrong in the country. And so I'm just asking for one small thing, right? We just want transparency. We know that your hands are bound, you have restrictions, you believe in certain things, whatever. We just want to know what's going on. Okay. We want to know what the sheriffs are doing with ICE.
Thank you.
The next three speakers are Samir Ahmed, Krishna Avila, and Janice Meslin.
Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Ramirez. I am here with Resilience Orange County. And I do have a few questions that I hope the sheriff can actually answer, because we're actually here to get numbers. So I want to focus the attention, right, that last year in 2017, we still had the 287G program. So we want to know the extent to which actually law enforcement has been cooperating with ICE. So if we can get some of those numbers, that will take me to my next question. So how many ICE detainer notifications requested the sheriff to receive actually in 2017? And what were those requests? Were they hold requests? Were they notifications? Were they asking for the transfer of an individual? And how many of those did actually the sheriff comply with? So as I said, we want numbers. We're here for that, and I expect that the sheriff being here today is able to provide that. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Samir Ahmed. I'm an attorney with the ACLU of Southern California. A main purpose of the Truth Act was for our elected officials here today to be open and transparent about the anti-immigrant policies that are tearing families apart and harming our communities. Unfortunately, by scheduling this forum on a weekday morning, by refusing multiple requests by me and other members of the public to hold a community presentation at this forum, unfortunately, this forum has been anything and will be anything but open and transparent. The Orange County Sheriff's Department's policies cause significant harm to our communities. And I just wanted to address one point, because we hear the sheriff and Under Sheriff Barnes continuously say, oh, we're only deporting the, quote, serious criminals. But it's important to note that that position is inherently anti-immigrant. U.S. citizens are always released back into the community after they serve their time. Why does the Orange County Sheriff's Department think that immigrants should not be allowed to do so as well? Don't they deserve the same rights as U.S. citizens? One of the goals of sentencing is to rehabilitate the offender. Is the Orange County Sheriff's Department saying that its ability to rehabilitate immigrants is so bad that they can't release immigrants back into the community, back to their families? I'd like Under Sheriff Barnes to answer that question. At the end of the day, it's proven fact that our communities are much worse off when we banish a person, a father, a mother, and deport them from their communities for the rest of their lives than allowing them back with their families, with their friends, to be able to work and support our communities and our families. My hope is that when we hold this forum next year, that the Orange County Sheriff's Department realizes that if it truly cares about the safety and well-being of people in our communities, it would stop working with ICE to tear our families apart. Thank you.
Good morning, members. My name is Krishna Avila. I'm an attorney with the Immigrant Legal Resource Center. I'm also an immigrant myself, was undocumented for 23 years of my life, which is the majority of my life. I'm here to echo some of the points that were already brought up, namely public safety. When we talk about collaborating with ICE to deport our community members, fathers, mothers, children who are part of this community, oftentimes people cite to public safety. But the fact is that studies show that cutting ties with ICE makes our communities more safe. There's a recent study by the American Progress that shows that when you enact sanctuary policies that cut ties with ICE, crimes are lower, economies are stronger. Here in Orange County, also a recent study shows that since Orange County and the rest of the counties were forced to abide by state law since the Trust Act, the Truth Act, and the Values Act, crimes have also been lower here in Orange County. So the fact is that these policies are making our community safer. Lastly, I also want to talk about transparency, specifically talking about the costs to aid ICE. And those figures are, the community needs to really assess how much of their local taxpayer money are going into collaborating with ICE. So thank you so much.
The next three speakers will be Annie Lai, Jane Stover, and Caitlin Bells.
Hi, I'm Jan Meslin. I live in Costa Mesa, and I volunteer with Freedom for Immigrants, formerly Civic. I've been visiting people detained here in Orange County since 2012, and I've gotten to know many who are caught up in this unjust system. Each one has touched me, and that's why I keep doing this. People who are talented and waiting to make our world better, who have jobs and homes and families waiting for them, yet they're stuck in detention for months, even years. Maybe the hardest part is hearing stories about family separation, sharing tears when people talk about missing their children. It's crucial to our values that we keep fighting to keep our families together. I was part of Civic's civil rights complaint in December 2015 when we exposed abuses going on inside Theo Lacy. 10 men were willing to speak up about medical, physical, and mental abuses. This was followed up by a visit from the Inspector General, which got lots of publicity. We hoped, of course, that either things would get better or the contract with ICE would end. Instead, it was expanded by 120 beds, even though many of us spoke up vehemently against that expansion, and you voted 5-0 to expand it. just so Orange County could make more money. However, it turns out that we taxpayers are funding the difference. It seems like ICE pays us $118 a bed per day, yet it costs $140. So that's kind of confusing. Conditions have not gotten better. It is sad that Orange County was the last county in California to have 287G agreements, and once the Truth Act passed, we're required to stop collaboration with ICE, yet it continues. People are transferred to detention once they're released from jails. And you've found ways to get around this by publishing names when they get released from the jails. We need to reject Sheriff Hutchins' long pattern of supporting the Trump administration's anti-immigrant and hate-filled agenda. Orange County continues to profit from detaining our immigrant community members and tearing families apart. We demand transparency and accountability.
Good morning, supervisors. My name is Annie Lai. I direct the Immigrant Rights Clinic at the University of California at Irvine School of Law. I'm also a resident of Santa Ana, and I'm proud to live in a county where 1/3 of the county's 3.2 million residents are foreign-born immigrants. I want to take a brief moment to address the issue of the Orange County Sheriff's Department's policy of working with ICE to transfer local residents for deportation. Like President Trump, Sheriff Hutchins and Under Sheriff Barnes have conjured up images of dangerous foreigners who seek to do harm to local residents as targets of their immigration enforcement efforts in the jails. I think that is misguided and based on false reasoning. The problem with their reasoning is that it's based on an us versus them mentality. And instead of treating immigrants and their families as part of our community, as we try to teach our students, and therefore our responsibility, it treats them as discardable. It fails to recognize the role they play and the contributions they make in our community. So instead of fear-mongering, I hope that the Board of Supervisors will ask the sheriff these questions and begin to investigate. First, if our criminal system has determined that individuals are safe for release after they have served their time and completed the requirements in their case, why does the Sheriff's Department insist on punishing immigrants a second time by turning them over to ICE for deportation? And what data supports the claim that it makes the public more safe? In addition, what efforts is the OC Sheriff's Department making to ensure that it is meeting its primary function of adequately rehabilitating individuals through successful reintegration programs? In addition, will Sheriff-elect Barnes continue the policy of his predecessor, publicizing the release dates of all individuals in the jail to get around the California Values Act, even though it may endanger the safety of those being released? And finally, will the Board of Supervisors commit to learning more about federal immigration law and policy and ICE so that they understand what our families face? Thank you.
The next three speakers are Jackie Cordova, Carlos Pereira, and Katie Blazer.
My name is Jackie Cordova. I am from Santa Ana. O Lord, into thy hands I commend the soul of your servant Todd, Michelle, Andrew, Sean, and Lisa. There are less fortunate people right outside of your door that you have to walk over every morning to get into your building, your place of work, to serve the residents of Orange County. We pray for the truth to prevail and that our resources are shifted from criminalizing us to taking care of each and every beloved soul upon this earth, the richest county in the world. I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Good morning. My name is Carlos Pereira. I'm the Policy and Programs Director for Resilience Orange County. Just want to start with a note about government and governance. I think good government practices and good governing practices is when the government is transparent, accountable, and provides information to its residents about what they're doing. That holds accountable those departments that it oversees for the malpractices and for violating the laws. But it's clear right now that this entity and this leadership and the supervisors does not care about that. You all operate in the shadows. And it is clear by us having to have the state pass laws so that you can have public forums and hearings like this so we can find out what y'all are doing. Now, a couple months ago, y'all decided to take action against our immigrant communities. Y'all decided to join the Trump administration and suing the state of California for trying to protect its people and for trying to value immigrants. And it's clear that y'all fail. Y'all fail in federal court, and you will continue to lose if you continue to follow this administration. Now, I have a question for Don Barnes, Sheriff-elect Don Barnes. One is that last year, the Office of the Attorney General released a report about immigrants being fed rotten meat inside the jails, about the mistreatment that they receive. So I have a question. Who has been held accountable for that? Has anyone been fired? Have you taken any disciplinary actions against people that has mistreated people and treated them like animals? So I want to know who has been held accountable. I want to know if you're going to hold him accountable. I want to know if you're going to hold this department accountable. And I want to let you know, just like we told you a couple months ago, this county is changing. It's inevitable. Are you going to go down with it? Because we're going to make sure that you're not here. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Janet Herrera Bucio, Roberto H., and Luis Gomez.
Good morning. My name is Caitlin Brazer, and I'm here representing CHIRLA, the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights. I'm also a resident of Orange County. I grew up in Costa Mesa and Fountain Valley, and also went to Soka University of America. And I'm here to voice my support for our immigrant community as an ally here in Orange County and highlight the importance of disentanglement between local law enforcement, in this case the Orange County Sheriff's Department, and ICE. To have a strong and safe community where community members must be able to trust their local law enforcement agency. Any collaboration between the OC Sheriff Department and federal immigration enforcement deeply damages that trust. When local law enforcement acts as deportation agents, this further undermines that trust, therefore decreasing the likelihood that immigrants will report crime when they are victims or witnesses due to the fear that they may be deported when they encounter the local police. The Orange County Sheriff's Department has a duty to ensure that our courts, schools, hospitals, and entire community is a safe space for everyone regardless of their immigration status. And in my role with CHIRLA, I get to meet with our community members every day, maybe 500 folks a month, having conversations with people individually. And just hearing what folks were sharing before me, was just reminding me of so many stories that we hear. So these are not just things that we're just, bringing to you today, but these are things that we hear every day. And me, myself, I'm not an immigrant, right? But I feel deeply affected every time I hear that. Sometimes I feel I don't know how to respond. How can I respond when someone asks me, I'll be safe, right? Because I'm just, trying to go to school, or I just want to go to college, or, I'm just at home with my family. Like, will I be okay, with everything that's been going on and what we're hearing about? How do I answer that when we don't know to what extent we can trust our own sheriff's department, right? And it's such a complicated explanation. It really shouldn't be that complicated. All our folks, are community members living here, contributing to our society one way or another, right? And just the fact that they're human beings, our family and friends, we shouldn't live like this. It's unacceptable. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Janet Bucio, and I am here representing the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, like my peer, Katie Brazer. I'm the Orange County organizer with CHIRLA, specifically with youth, the California Dream Network. And like many of you who are very proud of the young people here in Orange County that are going to UCI, Fullerton, many of them have fears. And those fears are with the local law enforcement. And I think that's one of the main reasons why Katie and I have been emphasizing to you, Sean Nelson, Lisa Bartlett, Andrew Dew, Michelle Steele, that we need to ensure that our community can trust their department, the sheriff department, to protect them and not facilitate like deportations and separations of our family, because that's one of the main things that many of the students that I work with have a fear of. And as a result, we're here to ask you as like the Orange County to comply with the Trust Act, with the Values Act, and which publicly you opposed on record, and the Truth Act to ensure that local resources are not utilized to deport our neighbors. Limiting the Orange County Sheriff Department entanglement with ICE is crucial, specifically today. The Trump administration has the largely increased interior enforcement, utilizing the local criminal justice system to advance deportation agendas. Despite the cruel attacks that have taken place in our immigrant communities, here is Orange County. We will continue to defend the values of equality, equity, and justice for all, to actively protect our friends and neighbors from federal abuses of power, to ensure everyone who calls Orange County home can feel safe. And if
Thank you.
these
Your
past
time is up.
elections haven't shown anything, like, we're going
Thank
to do
you. Your
something
time
about
is
it.
up.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Bellis, and I represent the UCI Immigrants' Rights Clinic as well as the OC Raise Rapid Response Network. And I want to touch on a few points about the Truth Act specifically, that it provides really crucial information to people who are held in jail so that they understand what's happening, so that they understand that an interview with an ICE officer is voluntary, so that they are able to really enjoy the rights guaranteed to them by the Constitution. Before joining UCI, I worked at public counsel, and I provided Know Your Rights legal orientation trainings to people held in ICE facilities here in Orange County for several years. And I can't really emphasize enough how little information people held in these facilities have. Imagine being taken from your home without any understanding of what's going on. Imagine not being able to afford a phone call and having to wait to borrow a phone card from a fellow person in the jail in order to contact your family and let them know what's been happening to you. These laws that the state has enacted are to protect the most basic rights of our community members and to ensure that the Constitution is honored. And I urge you all to fully comply with state law and to cease entanglement with ICE, because the processes that these people are put through, that our friends and family members and neighbors and community members are put through, don't give them any sense of what's happening. You don't have a right to a lawyer. You don't have a right to it's just, you don't have a right to translate the documents that you must present to the court in English. It is a travesty of due process, and Orange County has no business collaborating with this administration. Thank you.
Hi, Board of Supervisors. My name is Roberto, and I'm with Resilience Orange County. I want to start by recognizing Roxana, Justice for Roxana Hernandez. She is a trans woman that was seeking asylum in May 2008. She presented herself at the port of entry in San Diego. And because she was HIV, she was sharing this information with ICE, with Border Patrol. And they neglected to provide her the medical treatment that she needed. She ended up being transferred over to Cibola, New Mexico, and that is where she died in ICE custody, right? I was just in San Diego last weekend where we released, with Familia Trans Queer Liberation Movement, released and Transgender Law Center, independent autopsy that showed that ICE physically assaulted this trans woman before she died. So while ICE continues to say that she died of HIV medical complications, we know that she was assaulted, right? And so we want to highlight that. And I think that in connection to ICE and in everything that is happening across the country, Orange County and the Orange County Sheriff's Department, there's a lot that needs to be said in terms of its collaboration with ICE, with this rogue agency. And we need to do our part to combat the anti-immigrant narratives that they share, as well as you all, because it also lights a fire under these anti-immigrant racists. They attack us. They're very violent. They've shown up to sanctuary city council meetings. We've known that, right? Among them, there's domestic violence, right? So I think that what we need to really come to understand is that Orange County needs to be ICE-free. We need an ICE-free Orange County. We need to abolish ICE. We need to get ICE out of our counties, and we need to stop profiting off of immigrant detention. Thank you.
The next three speakers are Laura Cantor, Adela Montanez, and Alexis Teodoro.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. My name is Luis Gomez, and I am the Immigration Resources Specialist at the LGBT Center of Orange County, located here in Santa Ana. I'm also a resident of Anaheim and a graduate of the University of California, Irvine. I also want to thank Roberto for bringing up such an important issue about Roxana and about the treatment of LGBTQ immigrants in immigration detention. Because of my work and because of the people that I surround myself with and because of who I am, I continuously hear from our community members the discomfort and fear just the side of local law enforcement. The fact that the Sheriff Department makes significant attempts to collaborate with ICE despite state legislation prohibiting so sends a strong message to our community members, letting us know that their priority is not our safety, but is rather to the allegiance to a rhetoric that is separating families, devastating communities, and potentially putting people's lives in danger. I was hoping to go after a particular story was shared, but I'll give a little bit of introduction to that story. That story is of Edgar. And that story is particularly significant for me. Not only is Edgar part of two marginalized communities like me, the LGBTQ community and the immigrant community, but he's also a dear friend of mine who I've seen grow, contribute to his community, and come closer to achieving his dream of becoming a fully contributing member of our society. Edgar made a mistake, and because of that, came in contact with local law enforcement, and therefore ended up being processed by ICE. If my friend Edgar is removed to his native state of Guerrero, Mexico, because of his LGBTQ identity, his life could be in danger. And this is just one example of the human cost that this policy can have. So thank you.
Hi, good morning. My name is Laura Cantor. I'm the Director of Policy Advocacy and Youth Services at the LGBT Center in Orange County in Santa Ana. Will your actions reflect your alignment with this morning's first speaker, who spoke about swamps and slime and a gross disdain for immigrants? Or will you work with the majority of our community to create a transparent way forward so that all people will be treated with dignity? The least we can do is create processes to ensure that the most vulnerable in our community feel safe. This can't happen without transparency or without communication. The LGBT Center OC has been getting many, many calls from gay men and transgender women who are being detained by ICE and who are being criminalized because they were escaping violence and probable death in their countries of origin. How can you abide making a profit from their suffering? Sheriff-elect Barnes, you have an opportunity to rebrand the OC Sheriff's Department from one of secrecy and corruption to one that reflects a changing landscape where anti-immigrant hatred, racism, sexism, homophobia, and transphobia are rejected, and we work together for liberty and justice for all. Please support the Truth Act. Please work with us, Sheriff-elect Barnes. A few months ago, you came to the center for a meeting of immigrant advocates, and you have reached out to the LGBT community. My community is also the immigrant community, and you cannot support us unless you support and work with all of us. Supervisors Steele, Nelson, and Spitzer have each reached out to the LGBT community in different ways, attending a fundraiser, speaking at an event for Cleve Jones, signing a certificate from the OC Human Relations. Please show us that you really do care. Please support the Truth Act. It's the right thing to do. Work with our communities. It's a new start. We have a new sheriff coming. It's a time we can make change and rebrand the OC Sheriff's Department and the OC Board of Supervisors from its current reputation. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Adela Montañez, Community Advocate Coordinator from Latino Head Access. Latino Head Access is a nonprofit organization for 25 years to serve the low-income community and immigrants. Our immigrant community is impacted for the police and ICE collaboration. Our families cannot continue to live in fear. We need to recognize the humanity to every person who call our country home, no matter their background, what they look like, or where they were born. About 30% in Orange County's population are immigrants who are deeply rooted in our neighborhoods and communities. This is just a statistic. This is not just statistics. There are parents, siblings, children, and our neighbors. It is important that we demand the equal treatment of our friends and neighbors so that we can all success and thrive together. It is crucial to our values that we fight to keep families together. When immigration deports and parents, no one look after the well-being to the often children who are left behind. No one check to see to the happen and family struggle to make ends meet when the sole wage earner is gone. The federal government harsh policy to little more leave behind broken families. In your county hall, turn people over the immigration, we are complete this harm. Actually, I have one question. In 2017, how many requests has the Sheriff Department received for ICE interview? How many people was ICE able to interview? Thank you.
The next three speakers will be Robert Loudon, Louis Adame, and Jack Lerner.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I work for Santana Building Healthy Communities, and my name is Alexis Teodoro. I'm a resident of the beautiful city of Santana, the only city in the county who has openly declared itself a sanctuary for its immigrant residents. I'm also a part of a mixed-status family, which there are thousands, if not millions, of mixed-status families in Orange County, some that I bet you know. The county has actively cooperated with ICE for many years, and the cost of that relationship has been paid by the mixed-status families that exist and the undocumented individuals who are members of our community and also part of this county. The terror, fear, and frankly confusion instilled by this continued relationship the county has with ICE has also further driven vulnerable communities more into the shadows, even having to forgo life-surviving services that the county provides and frankly is mandated by the state to provide. I talk on a daily basis with service providers across the county who they all express to me a decrease in services sought by the Latino community across the board simply because they know the county cooperates with ICE. I raise these points because the county has taken policy positions that are fueled by hate speech and have further driven vulnerable communities into fear and constant living under stress. I want to conclude my comments with a set of questions for the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff. Why did you decide not to condemn Trumpian policies when they go against your mission of protecting every resident of Orange County? If data exists that passing sanctuary-like policies increases public safety, why hasn't the county followed the city of Santana in declaring itself a safe place for its immigrant residents? Since the 287G program was mandated by the state to be canceled, what other policy updates have the sheriff taken to make sure you're really not replicating the practices that were being used before the 287G program became unlawful under state law? We need transparency. We need responses to our questions. You cannot evade democracy. Please be transparent.
Hello, thank you for taking the time to listen to me. I want to make one thing very clear. Standing up for your country and our laws is not racist, it's not transphobic or sexist. Lots of people who are those types voted for Trump. We love our country, but we also believe in rule of law. And for the person who referenced the Bible, God has laws. And if we don't have laws, we don't have a country, okay? Some of these speakers said, we don't need ICE. We have a government. We cannot take in the entire population of the globe. I was in TJ last week. The caravan broke down the border between Honduras and Mexico, disrespected the Mexican people, and said, we don't need this food, it's trash. It's what I've seen from my fellow Hispanics in California and in the United States. Lots of us respect the Constitution, the social contract, and our country. And one of these guys said, yeah, the demographics are changing. They want that. They want more brown people in there, and they say it openly. They'll vote us out. And if you're a Republican, It doesn't matter what color you are. You're a white supremacist, you're a Nazi, and that's it. And all these people profit off of it. The ACLU, all these nonprofits get paid by your tax dollars. But you know who pays for it? I do. I live in Santa Ana. My taxes went up by 1.5% because we just spent $50 million on affordable housing. Why? Because cowardly Republicans won't do anything about immigration. I hold you guys just as responsible as the left. I expected more from you guys to stand up for the rule of law and to not let this rhetoric happen. Support your president, support your country. If you have a different belief system, don't let somebody shout you down. Martin Luther King said we be judged based upon our character, not by our color. According to them, if you're brown and you're a Republican, you're a sellout, you're a vendido. I've been attacked personally by Hispanics that say you're a sellout to your race. And to these people, it's the color of your skin over your country. And it's despicable, and you guys should all be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
I'm Robert Loughton. One of the three sanctuary state bills protects the illegal aliens from immigration and custom enforcement in their workplace. Number two, if an illegal alien does not want to risk deportation, then they should read the three sanctuary state bills and refrain from committing the crimes that will get one deported. The less cooperation between ICE will result in more ICE raids in the community. If the Republican Party, the reason why we're having this forum is that the Republican Party refused to pass a national mandatory E-Verify system that compares the prospective employee's name with his or her Social Security number. If that would have been done, then there would not have been an illegal alien voting bloc for the Democrat Party to defend with the three sanctuary state bills. Absent voter ID, dead people vote, illegal aliens vote.
Can you?
Okay, you know the Democrats are in your face. No borders, no wall, no USA at all. But the Republican Party, they're just as much a globalist as the Democrat Party is, because they don't do anything effective to secure our borders, like passing a mandatory E-Verify system. Thank you.
The last three speakers will be Mike McCoy, Felicity Figueroa, and Asma Ahmed.
My name is Jack Lerner, and I'm a resident of Irvine here in my personal capacity. Do you believe in the rule of law? Do you believe in law and order? Do you want the shopkeeper who has been robbed to call the police? Do you want the woman who is being threatened or abused by her husband to be able to call the police? Do you want the citizens of Orange County to feel comfortable talking to police officers, or would you want them to run the other way? By collaborating with ICE, you are mixing policing with immigration policy. Studies show that by doing that, you are making all of us unsafe. Citizens, people with status, and undocumented people. All of us. So my questions for you are, first, why do you think cooperation with ICE helps keep us safe? And second, will you commit to being transparent about the nature of the department's collaboration with ICE, the financial arrangements with ICE, and ICE's access to individuals in custody? This forum is required by law to provide information about the public, to the public about ICE's access to individuals. So I look forward to that portion of today in which you will provide information to us about ICE's access to individuals as is required by law. Thank you.
Let us be clear. I've been labeled, myself and the group I belong to, We the People Rising, we've been labeled as anti-immigrant. And I want all of you people to understand we are anti-illegal immigrant. If you are illegally in this country, you must get out of here. If you don't like ICE, go to Mexico. There's no ICE in Mexico. You especially. These people are, I know people that have people that have been killed by illegal aliens. The illegal aliens serve their time, then they're released, and they're still not removed from this country. We need ICE. And anybody who's an illegal in this country, in this room right now, get the hell out of my country. Thank you.
Okay. My name's Felicity Figueroa, and I am the ministry's board chair of Irvine United Congregational Church. And in our church, we believe in the inherent human worth and dignity of each person, and no human is illegal. While borders are man-made, the human spirit is universal, as is the love of parents for their children and their desperation to protect them from violence and harm. I've been visiting immigrants in detention here in Orange County for 6 years, and I have yet to meet anyone who might be considered a danger to society. Rather, all are individuals who want to work hard to make a better life for themselves and their families. People need to feel safe in their communities for the good of all its members. Otherwise, witnesses to crime will not report what they have seen, domestic violence victims will remain silent, and all community members are put in more danger. Would everybody who agree with me please stand up here in this chamber, just so we get a consensus? Thank you. So, as our pastor said in church this Sunday, justice is not the same as law and order, and legality is not the same as morality. Please protect the least of these from the sheriff's sometimes illegal collusion with ICE. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Asma Ahmed, and I'm the policy manager with the Council on American Islamic Relations. We are a civil rights and advocacy organization located here in Orange County in Anaheim, but we work in Orange County in the greater LA area. I'm also a resident of Orange County. I live in Irvine, and I'm also have the honor of being the daughter of immigrants. The issue of immigrants' rights is one that impacts every community, including the communities that I've had the privilege of working with. The community members we serve have been suffering from the xenophobic, Islamophobic, racist, and anti-immigrant policies passed by this administration and also previous administrations. In the 2.5 years that I've worked at CARE, I've seen mothers crying as their children are torn from their arms. I've seen youth who are being bullied at school, told to go home when they were actually born here or, came here when they were children. Our state has offered a glimmer of hope, thankfully, by passing progressive policies like the Truth Act, like the California Values Act, but now it's up to the counties, like all of you, to follow through. I think every civil rights and immigrants' rights advocate who is here today knew that even though a Truth Act forum was finally being held in Orange County, the battle was not over because there would be a slim to zero chance that this forum would actually be truthful and transparent. Immigrants, minorities, people of color, and all marginalized groups have never been given anything freely or without cost. In fact, they are used to things being taken from them: their land, their bodies, their freedom, their rights, their humanity, their lives. National security, public safety, crime prevention, these are the buzzwords that law enforcement and public officials like to throw around, and they use these words when they are taking things from our people. This is the narrative that we must change, and we need you to help change it. It's not about national security, it's not about public safety, and it's not about crime prevention. It's about prejudice, fear, and hatred.
Thank
so
you.
I ask you, what are you going to do to make sure that these truths come to light?
Madam Clerk, do we have any additional speakers?
No, we don't.
Mr. County Counsel, Government Code Section 7283.1, subdivision D, small d. What is required of at this forum? There was some mention earlier that law enforcement is required to provide data. Is that in fact the law?
Mr. Chairman, no. Under subdivision D, the provision of data is permissive, not mandatory.
Okay. Sorry. All right. So at this time, with no additional speakers, I will close the public hearing at this time. This is a receive and file item. So do you have any? You look puzzled. You have any questions? Any board comments or questions? It is a receive and file, right? Council?
We need transparency.
Please.
The board has satisfied the requirements of the statute. We do have a recommended action for receive and file the information, but the board has already accomplished that objective by conducting the public hearing today.
Right.
We need transparency.
Can you?
We need transparency.
Can you? At this time, no.
You don't have to respond.
We don't. Are we in compliance with the law at this time? We just need to have that question answered. Yes or no?
You are.
Okay. So it's a receive and file at this time. That concludes this item. Okay. We will take a recess at this time and discuss. Okay? And thank you.
That's unacceptable. You're not holding the sheriffs accountable when they work.
We heard your comments. You're repeating it many times. It's not going to change what you said, okay? We understand it. So we will now recess to closed session.
The clerk will read the items.
And then can you read the items then, Madam Clerk?
Closed session 100 County Council, Conference of Legal Counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, name of case, Stacey M. Mitchell versus County of Orange. And closed session 2 under Human Resource Services, Conference of Labor Negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6, Agency Negotiator Robert Lees, Employee Organizations, Association of Orange County Deputy Sheriffs, International Union of Operating Engineers, United Domestic Workers of America, and other non-represented employees regarding terms and conditions of employment.
We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back.